workers across the country can live in a middle-class life and provide opportunity for their families. If you're dumb enough to fall for this, then you deserve what the hell you get. People, I have traveled, as you all know, I have traveled around this country. As you know, I regularly and routinely travel around this nation. Brothers and sisters from around the world, do you all realize how many places that folks used to rely on as an entry-level job have switched to being automated? Have you all noticed that? Because I've been seeing that. I've been seeing that. I'm going around the country right now, and I'm seeing people, I'm seeing where they're automating these things. Walmart around the country now. You go around the country now, Walmart has used this pandemic as their cover to get through all the porn. The idea for the supercenters was always that they would all be self-checkout. That's the reason that your Walmart supercenters had 20 checkout lanes. It wasn't because they wanted to employ a bunch of people. It was because those lanes were supposed to allow you to check yourself out. That was always, always, always the goal. That was always the plan. Was that you would check yourself out. That's not me saying now. You can go look it up for yourself. That was always the plan from the very beginning. And Home Depot was supposed to be next in line. That's why when you go around the country, Walmart and Home Depot all had self-checkout years ago. But what happened? When Walmart attempted to employ it, most of their customers refused. Most of the customers didn't trust the machines, they didn't know how to use them, and they wanted to be checked out by a person. So Walmart pulled back on their plans because the customers revolted and refused. But what they did was they installed a few checkout registers so that you would start getting people slowly acclimated. They decided instead of just dropping it on people all at once, we'll get them slowly acclimated. Then in some of your larger cities, they expanded that. So they didn't just have 4 checkout registers. They expanded it to 12. And then in other places, they expanded it to like 20 of them. Since the pandemic has happened, Walmart has gone around the country, even in my hometown of Shreveport. They've gone and at the Walmart markets, they took out all of the regular registers, because before they only had 4 checkout registers and like 4 or 5 cashier registers. They have gone back, removed all of the regular checkout registers, and they are all self-checkout now. You don't have a choice. You go there to shop, you will check yourself out. All under the guise of worker safety or whatever. But that's it now. They've gotten rid of all the manned checkout registers. Now they are all self-checkout. And this is going to go everywhere. This gives Walmart the excuse that they need. And when this pandemic is over, you will not recognize the American employment landscape in many of these entry-level jobs that you have required and depended on for so long. You won't recognize them. You won't recognize them. They got kiosks now for ordering your hamburgers. We got self-checkout at the bank. You got the ATM. Now they want to lock the doors on you. If you think that these people are trying to figure out how to pay you a middle class wage as a damn unskilled high school dropout, You are a special type of silly or a special type of ignorant if you believe that these companies are trying to figure out ways to pay an unskilled GED having single mom $15 an hour coming in the door. For those of you who didn't know, I've already gone over this before, that we did the research here on the Black Channel to find out how much it costs for each one of those automated registers. When you go to Walmart and you go to one of those self-checkout registers, each one of those self-checkout registers costs $25,000 to install. Let me say that again. Each one of those self-checkout registers at Walmart, Target, Home Depot, each one of those self-checkout terminals, because that's what they are now, they're not even self-checkout registers. Each one of those self-checkout terminals costs about $25,000 to install. In other words, it costs less money from year one. They are saving money year one. I mean, it's nothing but a scanner that's hooked up to their central computer. You scan it and the computer tells you how much that item costs. That's all it is. Hell, the most expensive part of the damn thing is the money dispenser, which is basically like an ATM. That's the most expensive part of that register. All it is an infrared scanner that's hooked up to their central computer. That's all. Hell, they're probably overpaying for the $25,000. But each one of those terminals is $25,000. People, those things pay for themselves in year one. When you count worker pay, Walmart doesn't pay overtime. But healthcare, man, vacation time and sick leave, that's it. They've got an employee now who doesn't need sick time, doesn't need FMLA, doesn't need family medical leave. Oh yeah, all the hood rats and hoes and all the chicks who think they're gonna go back into the workforce and get a job and get taken care of, and nobody's gonna pay for your babies if you ain't got a job. There's gonna be nobody to pay maternity leave if you ain't got a job. You didn't think about that and you didn't think ahead. But they did. So all of y'all out there telling yourselves that you gonna have maternity leave and you gonna live your best life, okay. Believe that if you want to. Believe that if you want to. They already have the plan in place to get rid of you. Oh yeah, and one more thing. By the way, they're going to be dropping Walmart and those kind of places are already good for firing folk. That every time one of those registers that went in, them gals need to be up in there because it's mostly black women at those stores. They all need to start looking for new jobs because you show up for work half a minute late, you're fired. You can go get your little unemployment. Oh, wait a minute, you can't get it because you were fired with cause. You were late. Never mind. People, nobody is trying to figure out how to pay you $15 an hour. I'm not saying that because it sounds cute. I'm saying that because it's the truth. And if you believe somebody is doing that, if you believe this, the folks are out there really trying to figure out a way to do that, you are a special type of dumb. A few of you will get it. The rest of you are about to be replaced. And this will give them the excuse for doing it that they've been, between the virus and minimum wage going up, this will give them the excuse that they've been waiting for. We got rid of all of our human employees because we're trying to stop the spread of this virus. And we had to get rid of folk because we need to keep costs down for all of the working families who shop with us. How many of you out there are young and dumb enough and ignorant enough to be told that? And if you think that saying, well, if they fire all the people, who's going to buy the products? If you haven't watched my film Gentrified and learned that they don't even want you as a customer. If you haven't figured that out, they don't want you as a customer. They want you to not be a customer. They want you to not be able to afford to come in their stores. They really only want upper middle class and rich people, and that's it. All you poor folks, you're actually market losers. You actually cost money. So anybody ignorant enough to talk about, well, who gonna buy the stuff? Oh, but not you. They just don't want you doing it. When I picked up this microphone over a decade ago and I warned black people in the chat room, somebody got ahead of me there. They got ahead of me in the chat room there. I warned black folk a decade ago that you are witnessing the last generation of Latinos who are going to be picking beans for a living. And the dominant society has seen to it that Latinos have leapfrogged black people on the socioeconomic ladder and are now ahead of black people and doing better than black people. And you know what that means? That Latinos are going to be the ones moving into the businesses where black folk have been traditionally living. Latinos, including illegals, would be moving into the businesses. And black people, wouldn't it be irony of ironies if black people are the ones who end up going back to the agricultural fields, picking cotton, picking beans, picking lettuce, picking strawberries off the books, that black people will become the illegals. Won't that be something? If black people have to become the illegals. 160 years after so-called emancipation, the Latinos come out of the fields and are no longer picking the beans, and black people have to return to the fields, and not just return to the fields, you have to return to the fields illegally. You have to get paid under the table. You're going to work for less than minimum wage, or you will not have a job. And oh yeah, if you think, I want you all to understand how diabolical this is. You haven't been taught this by any of your damn teachers. The clowns over there, Roland Martin, Bowling Ball Martin, Tom Joyner, Michael Eric Dyson, because they're all working for the very people that you think you're fighting against. Folks, do you see how the dominant society and the white supremacist governmental structure has turned its head to the millions upon millions of Latinos that are working illegally in the United States? Can you imagine when they send black folk back to the fields, it'll be the same damn thing? Have you thought about the levels that this is going to go to? Black folk will be in the fields and the sheriffs and the police will be driving by, watching them out there working, knowing full damn well it can't be legal. Well, hell, they wasn't doing nothing about it when the Latinos were out there. Guess what? Swapping out the Latinos for you is going to be no problem. It will be business as usual. And if you think that I'm exaggerating, and if you think I'm being hyperbolic, watch. It's already happening on the East Coast, and it's actually already beginning to happen in California. Understand that. They've already made it a normal practice that they don't do nothing about whoever is picking the damn beans. It will be no problem to switch them out for you. None whatsoever. And it'll be you asking them if you can work illegally. It'll be you. Hell, you were talking before about getting $15 an hour minimum wage. It'll be you demanding to get paid less than minimum wage, because there won't be anything else left at that point. That's what you're up against now. Now, this next part here is a damn joke. Call on employers to meet their obligations to frontline essential workers and provide back hazard pay. Essential workers who are disproportionately Black, Latino, and Asian American. Folks, Kamala Harris it's she doesn't just think black people as a group are dumb, but she really understands this is all she got. This is all that her and Joe got. So they're marching this out, even though she knows it's going to be a failure and she knows it's going to blow up in her face. But this is all she got. This is it. She's being forced to confirm what we said she was going to do over and over and over and over again. You said this is for black folk, and yet you keep squeezing in everything else but black. All over again. All over again. These people are just that serious about this. Yes, it looks ridiculous, but we're going to go for it anyway. Now listen to what they say here. Listen to this. Essential workers who are disproportionately black, Latino, and Asian American and Pacific Islander have risked their lives to stock shelves, harvest crops. Oh, you all thought I was just mentioning about picking beans because I was off on a tangent. Nope. Oh no, that is squarely in their eyes. Anywhere and everywhere a dollar can be made, oh, they got their eye on it. They risk their lives to stock shelves, harvest crops, and care for the sick during this crisis. They've kept the country running even during the darkest days of the pandemic. A number of large employers, especially in the retail and grocery sectors, have seen bumper profitability in 2020 and yet done little or nothing at all to compensate their workers for the risks they took. The president believes these employers have a duty to do right by their frontline essential workers and acknowledge their sacrifices with generous back hazard pay for the risks they took across 2020 and up to today. He and the vice president will call on CEOs and other business leaders to take action to meet these obligations. People calling on them and writing it into law are two separate things. This whole thing right here, this is rhetoric. They are not about to tell Walmart, you got to pay people back pay. And if you try it, Walmart's just going to fire everybody. They're going to fire everybody and install those self-service desks. Hell, I saw Walmart here. I want to say coming through Atlanta, in the Atlanta area. I saw a Walmart that had one of those automated floor scrubbers. This damn thing's a robot. It's a robot that now goes around cleaning the floors. It goes up one aisle and down the other. It goes to the meat aisle and up one aisle and down the other. So get ready to stop seeing them old black folks sweeping the floors. They've already got your pink slip ready for you, so you won't have to worry about risking anything. You won't have to worry about hazard pay, because you ain't gonna get paid. So you won't have to worry about that anymore. Folks, this is all just really rhetorical. Child care? You better call your damn child's father. That's gonna be the child care. You can sit here and believe this lie if you want to. You better go call that Negro you got pregnant by and make sure he's got some money can put 5 on it. Now, here's another trick bag for you. Increased tax credits to help cover the cost of child care. To help address the child care affordability crisis, anything except black folk, by the way, President Biden is calling on Congress to expand child care tax credits on an emergency basis for 1 year now, to help working families cover the cost of child care. Families will get back as a tax credit as much as half of their spending on child care for children under 13, so that they can receive a total of up to $4,000 for one child, or $8,000 for 2 or more children. So all y'all hoes got 4 or 5 kids. Yes, I said it that was the way I meant it. You got 4 or 5 kids. Well, here's an extra $8,000. Good luck. The tax credit will be refundable, meaning that families who don't owe a lot in taxes will still benefit. Really, The tax credit will be refundable, meaning that families who don't owe a lot in taxes will still benefit. The full 50% reimbursement will be available to families who make less than $125,000 a year. And all families making between $125,000 and $400,000 will receive a partial credit, so they receive benefits at least as generous as those they can receive today. Okay, good luck on that one. That's to string along the welfare chicks. If there are any more chicks out there with their Obama phones, that's a little crumb that they're gonna dangle that carrot in front of you. So any more of you Obama phone chicks, that one's for you. Another thing about the child tax credit, so they want to increase these, which will be okay. Here's the problem. If you don't have a job, how are you going to get these? By the way, if you didn't earn anything at all, how are you going to get that? And if you didn't earn any money, what good is $8,000 going to do for somebody who's making zero? Where you going to live on $8,000 a year and you got 4 kids? Some of you have a mentality of perpetual poverty and you haven't thought this over. What you going to do with that? And by the way, I'm still looking for what's going to be done for black people. I'm still looking for that. We're down here with veterans. Oh, take a look at this. Okay, you knew this was coming. Kamala Harris has to take care of her people. Gotta take care of hers. Combat increased risk of gender-based violence. Huh, interesting. Tell me more. The pandemic has exacerbated domestic violence and assault, creating a shadow pandemic. So remember I told you all, they're just going to keep inventing causes to focus on. It doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't matter if it's 3 other people. With 40 million black folk, they will sit up here and focus on any micro issue, anything. Next, they're going to be telling you we have to deal with the starfish crisis. So anything and everything that they can invoke to avoid dealing with focusing on black people, they're just going to keep coming up. It's a never-ending string of deflections and distractions. Never ending. So if you all thought that they were shameless and silly before, they're going to keep doing this. I meant what I said at the beginning. They're just going to keep bringing things up. Anything. Now listen to this. Creating a shadow pandemic for many women and girls who are largely confined to their home with their abuser and facing economic insecurity that makes escape more difficult. President Biden is calling for at least $800 million in supplemental funding for key federal programs that protect survivors. Now, there's 2 things to this. Number 1, this is Jim Crow Joe and the prison industrial complex. $800 million in key federal programs. Oh, you're talking about, restraining orders and locking people up and, you get accused of this, that, and the other, and prosecutors. Yeah, we see what that's for. No, it's not going to be for Charlie Sheen. It's not going to be for Charlie Sheen. It's not going to be for Johnny Depp. No, we're not worried about them. Where's old Mike Tyson at? Where you at? Where's Cuba Gooding Jr.? Where you at? We're going to deal with you. The other thing is, notice they said gender. So this is LGBT without having to say LGBT. So how do you give $800 million in programs to, quote, help LGBT without actually saying LGBT? This is how. Folks, they are diabolical. They are going so deep off in the paint with this type of trick language. This is LGBT. When you see gender now, remember, they can't even say he and she in the Congress anymore now. This is LGBT. This is LGBT. And by the way, you're going to help women and girls, even though you now say you can't say women or girls. Interesting. Interesting. Now they're talking about struggling communities. You figure at this point right now, black folk are the most struggling community, but yeah, nothing for black people here. I see something for small businesses. Kamala Harris said black businesses and the American Rescue Plan. But when you go to the American Rescue Plan, all I see are American workers and small businesses. I don't see black. Oh, they thought they had me. No. I know. You thought you had me. I know what you're thinking to yourself. You're trying to be a little bit too smart by half. You might want to think this over. You might want to think this over before you think you got me. Provide small businesses with the funding they need to reopen and rebuild. Small businesses sustain half of the private sector jobs in America, and they've struggled in the wake of the virus. Black and brown small businesses and those in hard-hit areas. Folks, the trick bag again. No, we're not going to do anything for black people. You will simply be bundled in and buried under a bunch of others. Black and brown small businesses and those in hard-hit industries like restaurants, hotels, and the arts, those are all white businesses, folks. Those are all white and Asian. And by Asian, I mean Kamala Harris's people in India. Hell, the biggest consortium of the family that owns most hotels in America is the Indian family. What are they, the Patels, I believe the names are? They own most of the hotels in America. One Indian family, always has. So this is for them. This is for them. This is what they're focused on. Restaurants, hotels, and the arts. Black folk can't get none of those. The arts, those are theaters. Don't fall for that. Hard-hit industries like restaurants, hotels, and the arts, they're talking about movie theaters. They're talking about AMC. They're talking about AMC. They're talking about Regal. They're talking about Tinseltown. So when you see the arts on your screen here, when you see them talking about the arts, they are referring to the movie industry. They're referring to Hollywood. Not just talking about the arts. They're referring to Hollywood. I want you to understand, they're talking about AMC. For those of you who aren't able to decipher the trick language. See, they're sitting up here switching up everything now. But when they say the arts, they're talking about your local Cinemaplex. Multi-billion-dollar companies. That's what they're talking about here. It goes on to say nationally, small business revenue is down 32%. And at least 400,000 firms have permanently closed. To help hard-hit firms survive the pandemic and fully recover, President Biden is calling on Congress to, all right, now here's where we get to the action. Now, Kamala Harris got on Twitter talking about, oh, we need to pass this act so that we can help them. Black folk, black businesses need help. And the American Rescue Plan is what black businesses need. Well, now that you've actually mentioned black businesses, what are you going to do for black businesses? They want Congress to provide grants to more than 1 million of the hardest hit small businesses. This $15 billion in flexible, equitably distributed grants will help small businesses get back on their feet, put the current disaster behind them, and build back better. I didn't see the word black in there, which means black folk will be buried under a bunch of white businesses, Latino businesses, and Asians. Black folk don't have any connections to get to the front of the line, so $15 billion a bailout to everyone except black people. Kamala Harris just blew up in your face. Next, leveraged $35 billion in government funds into $175 billion in additional small business lending and investment. Let's find out exactly what that means. With a $35 billion investment in successful state, local, tribal, and nonprofit small business financing programs. So now, remember I said Black, Latino, and Asian. Oh, I forgot to mention Black, Latino, Asian, and Native American, which is, as we all know, most of those are actually white people. But guess what? The Native Americans who got all those casinos, those check cashing places, they're already got their financial foothold, but now they want to make sure they maintain this advantage over black people. Congress can generate as much as $175 billion in low-interest loans and venture capital to help entrepreneurs, including those in the clean energy sector. Those are all white, though. Innovate, create, and maintain jobs, build wealth, and provide the essential goods and services that communities depend on. Well, nothing here for black people. When we actually started talking about the dollars and the money, did you see what happened? Now, they did it again, where they said the words black, they said black up here when they were pitching it. When it's time to pitch these ideas, that's when they say black folk are suffering, black folk need help. But when we get down to the numbers, which is what I've always taught you all about, let me know when we get to the doing part. When they start talking about, okay, what we want to do is provide $15 billion. That's a good number. Okay, we see an actual number for small businesses. Okay, but that's not for black folk. Well, don't worry. Trust us. We'll get it to some of you. We want to get $35 billion. And the words black do not come up anywhere where we're discussing the actual numbers. The word black no longer appears. Did you all notice that? Kamala Harris and Joe Biden are back to their old tricks again. They sit up here and use us to galvanize attention, but as soon as we start talking about, okay, what are you gonna do? And we want specifics. As soon as they start getting to the specifics, all of a sudden, we don't come up anymore. All of a sudden, they don't use our name anymore. All of a sudden, we disappear from the paragraphs and we disappear from the papers. Now, it's just about businesses. All of a sudden, we disappear now. Ain't that something? Well, they got over that real quick, didn't they? Now we're going to cities, first responders, and quote, other essential workers. So this is public health workers, teachers. Amazing. Now for them, $350 billion. Now, for your small businesses here, 35. But for your so-called frontline workers, 10 times that much. Oh, but they got unions. Okay, they got unions. Never mind. Protect the future of public transit. Interesting. Now, they said you can't do anything specifically for black people because we can't do something for a specific racial group because that would be against the law. And yet, here you go. And this is why identifying ourselves as a condition, descendants of slaves, that's why it's so dangerous for them now, because they recognize, you don't actually have a legitimate leg to stand on to deny us, because we're not taking you to task based on race. We're taking you to task based on an incident that occurred to us. So you can't hide behind racism. You can't hide behind, we can't just do something just for black people. We didn't say do something just for black people. We said the descendants of slaves, victims of Jim Crow. Not our fault that we're all black. We said descendants of slaves, victims of Jim Crow, systemic racism and oppression. Well, oh, that's a group of people. You can't hide behind the racial thing there. Anybody could have been a slave. But we were the only ones who were, so you can't hide behind that. So we should get the same types of deference that your Indian tribes and Japanese in the American internment camps, we should get the same thing. That's why they want to change the subject, because there's no longer a defense against it. When you all articulate it the way I'm giving it to you, you can't defend against that. You can't defend against that. Now, there's not a whole paragraph in here for black people, but there's a whole paragraph in here for Native Americans. But there isn't a whole paragraph for black people. And as you can see, we're back at the bottom again, so there you go. Kamala Harris, this was pathetic. This was pathetic. This reeks of the awful, nauseating stench of desperation. This has the unmistakable, putrid, gut-wrenching stench of being desperate. That at this point you will say anything. You will say anything. You will claim anything. Notice she isn't going in front of any cameras or microphones to defend this and to give the specifics of, oh, well, this is why she said this to specifically black folk. Because she understands if the election were held today, she would lose the presidential primaries faster than she did previously. She'd lose it even faster. Yes, she is every type of desperate there is. And they sent her out there because they want to get support for this. And unfortunately for them, more and more people are reading and recognizing, and the people who supported them most, even the most brain-dead moron of a Biden-Harris supporter, baby, what they're waiting on is for you to give them something specific so that they can come back here and wag their finger and tell us that we were wrong. And they now understand you can't wait 4 years to do it. The folks who supported you, they bet the farm that you were going to walk in from day one and change everything. You can't wait 4 more years. You're not going to get the Obama treatment. Nobody's going to get the, well, maybe in a second term. Nope. You got to do it now. You've got the House, you got the Senate, and you got the White House. You no longer have any excuses. All the folks who supported you, they bet the farm that you were going to vindicate them now. And all you're doing is giving us more ammunition to batter them bloody with. Baby, this was pathetic. This was awful. And that deafening silence that you're hearing from all of your former supporters, that they're all sitting around and nobody's coming to your rescue. Nobody is defending you. Nobody is standing up to say, well, give them a chance on this. No, it ain't working. It's not working. Your usual group of flunkies that you used to be able to go to and say, well, don't worry, they got my back. It's going to be all right. It's not working for you, babe. It ain't working. This is not what you needed. What you needed is to give people something that they can come defend you with. We don't have that. They don't have it. Been waiting and waiting and waiting, and you didn't give it to them. They need something concrete. Need something concrete they can go out here and respond to us with and say, hey, y'all don't understand. We don't, it's not the way they saying it over there. We actually have a plan. It's in place. We're going to do something. They were wrong. Black people specifically put you in office. They were so busy bragging on it. Don't believe that old funky ass black media. They gonna steer you wrong. Don't worry about it. We got it. We got it. And she left you hanging. She left you hanging. Nothing you can do about it now. Nothing you can do about it now. They made you look ridiculous. And Kamala, the real problem is now all those folks have been waiting for you to come back and prove that the black media was wrong. And you have proven every word we said correct. This doesn't end well. This does not end well. Everybody who bet the farm that you were going to vindicate them and that you were going to prove that we were wrong, all those folk today are quiet. And they're quiet because they realize at this point now, this is it. They're going to have to hear 4 years of us saying, you were idiots and we told you so. They're going to have to endure 4 years of humiliation. There won't be anything they can do except sit here and be mocked for years now. They've got the next 4 years of being ridiculed and mocked to look forward to because they don't have a single justifiable reason for supporting you now. I warned you this was coming. Now it's here. It's going to be a very long, very embarrassing, and very silent 4-year term for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. If you're new here to the Black Channel, I'd like to welcome you to the Haven of Intelligent Black Thought. We do this every weekend, over 116,000 subscribers and rising. We are not a little thing.